Yeah. Let's get back into this right here, man. Shadesradio.com, Curtain ICE, hiphoplives.net, Nine Elements Magazine. This is how we get down. Original hip hop style music, talk, and culture for the people. Right? We're discussing a recent battle between Canibus and Dizaster. One, a known and respected hip hop artist from the 90s, and the other, uh, known and respected on the underground battle rapper, Dizaster. All right? Now, again, without, you know, sounding too derogatory or anything like that, Dizaster is a good artist. Okay, as far as battle rapping, that's the only thing I've ever heard from him is battle raps. Again, he's not necessarily one of my favorites in that circuit. All right, I think Math Hoffa is better than him. I think Iron Solomon is better than him. I think there's a lot of people. I do think that he ripped that other kid. He's escaping my name, but I made comments on it before. Uh, I might remember it by the end of this or the end of this thing. But uh, Disaster's all right. However, it was an opportunist kind of move for him to lure Canibus into that battle. It's sort of a smart move, but on one sense, I gotta call him on something and say, so you would like try to disrespect hip hop in general or icons of hip hop in order to make your name. Yeah, a lot of people would do that. A lot of people would do that. A lot of people would shit on anybody. You know what I'm saying? Just to make a name for themselves. And Canibus is not any type of sacred cow. Canibus goes at people that he shouldn't be going at. Like when he goes at Slaughterhouse, I don't agree with that shit. He went at KRS, I didn't agree with that shit. He goes at certain people that he don't need to. So that's karma. And that's cool. And Dizaster was talking about that. But I wouldn't make any kind of pattern out of that shit. I wouldn't be like, okay, now I'm going to go at fucking Big Daddy Kane. And now I'm going to go at, whoever. Some old nigga that don't even battle and ain't been in the limelight for a minute. I'm gonna try to go make my name off of this nigga. There's a bit of opportunism with that. That's not fully respecting the hip hop genre. So I'm not saying that Dizaster is any guilty of any, malfeasance against hip hop or anything. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you gotta be careful. You gotta be careful. Plus, you already gonna be kind of suspect as someone who is coming from quote unquote outside the genre, not outside necessarily the quote unquote black genre. I'm saying outside of, say, normal urban genre. Don't say no East Coast West Coast shit. Stop it. Do not say no bullshit like that. He said some little rhyme about, oh, Canibus is coming from the East, but when you come out in the West, you ain't gonna get that. Don't do that shit. Don't do that shit. That's you're sacrificing the civility within hip hop for your own personal gain. That ain't cool. Like, stop it with them kind of lines. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't use hip hop to just try to make your name bigger and, support hip hop. Love hip hop. You know what I'm saying? As you doing what you do. You ain't gotta disrespect hip hop to get a name for yourself. Okay? So, disrespecting Canibus, I'm not saying that that's disrespecting hip hop. So don't get it twisted. I'm just saying be careful. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't even have like a third of the love that Canibus has had. And Canibus don't have that much love. You know what I'm saying? But you don't even have a third of it. You know what I'm saying? People don't know who Dizaster is. Like think about this. Everybody that knows who Dizaster is, like everybody that knows you, and this is the Dizaster, everybody that knows you, they know who Canibus is too. But there's a whole bunch of people that know Canibus that have no idea who you are. You've never gotten to that level of fame yet. You're just trying to get there. So don't ever disrespect hip hop trying to get your level of fame. All right, that's not cool. You know what I'm saying? Other people are gonna look at that like, man, fuck that nigga. You know what I'm saying? So before any of that type of shit pops off, just be careful with it. That's all I'm saying. And just as somebody that's been looking at hip hop for many, many years, and I've been participating behind the scenes in hip hop for many, many years. And I'm not gonna have to go into all of my personal credentials. Look through my fucking YouTube channel or any of this shit that I've done, and you'll see what I'm about as far as hip hop is concerned. And you'll know where my motivation comes from. So I'm not trying to diss nobody or nothing like that. All right, my main goal is to make sure that hip hop is preserved correctly. All right, that's all I care about. And these type of battles gotta make sure that that happens, because this is right now it's a little bit suspect. Like when you have shit like that, that kind of just denigrates hip hop. In actuality, like I don't see anybody getting any good feelings out of watching that shit. Like I didn't get any good feelings. I was like, damn, this is embarrassing and this is humiliating and this is terrible. I'm just coming from a perspective of like somebody who has love for Canibus. I would rather have seen a good fight and Dizaster just won because Canibus didn't have as good of rhymes. That's what I wanted to see. Or Canibus won because he had better rhymes. That's all I want to. I don't want to see a nigga coming out there with a sling on and fucking stitches in his head, seemingly looking like he's a little bit on drugs or something like that, and coming like a little bit psychologically fucked up, yelling at the crowd, cursing at the crowd and shit when they didn't want to let him speak at the end. Like I don't want to see that shit. Like that wasn't fly for hip hop. That was a bad day in hip hop. That wasn't a good day. Like the Enes versus Iron Solomon battle, that was fine. That was a good day in hip hop. That continued hip hop on because they was both rhyming. They both brought their shit to the table, and it made you love hip hop more. This didn't. You know what I'm saying? This don't make you love hip hop more seeing that shit. So I'm saying in an effort to understand that principle, let's just check yourselves before we wreck yourselves. That's all we doing right here, right? You know, shout out to the West Coast. Shout outs to everybody on the West, right? With that statement. So that's basically where I'm coming from. I'm sure y'all gonna have a lot to say about this. Hey, you know, again, Dizaster clearly won. I don't think he won because he was so much of a better rapper. And just one last boxing metaphor. It was sort of like a boxing match. This is how I describe it. As a boxing match, the Canibus versus Dizaster battle was like this. The old retired ex-champion comes back to fight the young gun. The young gun is well trained and has been looking for this day his whole life. The old champion is just trying to get a check, and the motherfucker hasn't even trained at all. He's just coming back to collect a check. So subsequently, the fight happens, and the young gun ends up throwing hella punches, not many of which are actually landing substantial blows. Just throwing a hell of a lot of punches. Wildly throwing a hell of a lot of punches. The old head is dodging most of them. The old head is actually landing some blows of his own. Canibus had a few nice one-liners in there that people were still like, oh shit, still like, but he just didn't have enough punches to land, although Dizaster got him on points, but not by much, even though he threw a hell of a lot more punches. Then, by the third round, the old head, by dancing around or being so out of shape, threw in a towel. He didn't even come out for the third round. He threw in a towel right at the beginning and said, you win, you win. He didn't even come out for the third round. So it wasn't like he got knocked out at all. He gave up. Canibus actually gave up. You know what I'm saying? He actually came in and laid on his back and said, nah, you win, dog. That's what happened. You know what I'm saying? So that's not really a thorough win for Dizaster. It's not. It's not really a thorough win. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, the 12 G's, I hope that was spent good and everything. I hope y'all made y'all money back, and y'all got to worry about y'all brand. Canibus don't got to worry about his brand, because if he would just follow some of my advice, Canibus, you need to call me, bro. Trust me. This, what a motherfucker like, all right, let's just take on a little bit other genre right quick. I'm be off of this real quick. All these other people in all these other entertainment genres, when they fuck up in society, Morton Downey Jr., whatever the guy that was on drugs and shit, Downey, Robert Downey Jr. and shit, and Lindsay Lohan, every time they fuck up, they come back stronger. So Canibus, actually, you could do the same thing. Use this little window of publicity to your benefit. You know what I'm saying? This is what I'm suggesting to Canibus. Use this little, because nobody was talking about Canibus 2 weeks ago. Nobody was talking about Canibus 3 weeks ago. At least now you got some people talking about you. Yes, it's fucked up, but they say all publicity is good publicity. There's no such thing as bad publicity. As long as motherfuckers got your name in your mouth, utilize that shit. So actually, Canibus could come off better than everybody in this situation if he can work it right. So like I said, man, Canibus, call me, bro. I'll hook you up, man. So until the next time, all right, I'm gonna give y'all some more from the cipher. All right. So y'all be safe, man. Peace, love, unity, safely having fun. That's how we get down. Hip hop lives. Shadesradio.com. 9 Elements Magazine. I'm your man, Kurt Nice. And that's what it is, man. All right. So y'all, man, be safe. Peace.